Hello everyone. Back again with English Theater. Today, I have brought a 2009 drama film, named, Hachi. Before we get into the storyline, don't forget to like and subscribe, to get more movie recaps like this, and have a great day. The movie begins in a middle school, where everyone told about their superheroes in their life. Now we see a kid who named, Ronnie, gets up and told everyone that his hero's name is, Hachi, who is his grandfather's dog. Ronnie also tells the class about that story of Hachi. A long time ago, in a Buddhist monastery, Hachi's neck was collar around, and ship him off to airport from Japan. Then Hachi flew all the way to America, and there he put on a train, that brings him to a small town. Little puppy Hachi, is then transferred on a trolley, however Hachi's cage falls down from the trolley, and he sneak off from it. He then wander around in the station, and at that time a middle-aged man meets him, who named, Parker. Parker don't like to leave this puppy all alone in the cold, so he took Hachi to his home. Parker was already late to home, and when his wife, Kate, met Hachi she took him to the upstairs. When Parker told her about the situation, suddenly Hachi starts licking Kate's toe. She freaks out and she doesn't want a dog in her house. So Parker takes Hachi with him to the shed, and places him inside a makeshift bed. Because he makes sure that Hachi will stay warm throughout the night. In the next morning, Parker's daughter, Andy, is playing with Hachi, because she was in love with this little puppy. By seeing this, Parker doesn't want to send away Hachi, but Kate took picture of Hachi and makes poster. So Parker spends the entire morning in the town, hang out with Hachi. And he took Hachi to Dog Pound, but the guy working there tells Parker, that there is no place. Now Parker don't have any option, so he took Hachi at work. Parker was a music professor, and when he was in rehearsal, Hachi walks around the stage. At that time, Parker started like him. At night, Parker starts arguing with Kate, only because of Hachi. And things become worse, when Hachi accidentally breaks Kate's model house. So Parker again put Hachi in the shelter. But in the middle of the night, Parker feels to be with Hachi, so he took him inside and they both spends the night by watching TV with popcorn. The next morning, Parker spends the entire day to teach Hachi. Meanwhile, Kate and her daughter saw, how Parker was happy to spend time with Hachi. At that time, Kate got a call, to adopt Hachi. Kate denied it, because Parker will be heartbroken if Hachi is gone. A few years later, Hachi is now fully grown dog, his main job is to follow Parker all time. When Parker goes to the office, Parker even digs under the fence, to follow Parker. One evening, Hachi leaves the house, and just sits in front of the station entrance. When Parker returned from work, and get down of train, he was surprised to see Hachi who is waiting for him. And one of the vendor told Parker, that the dog was waiting for him for longer. After some years, we see Parker's daughter Andy and her boyfriend, Mitchell, are at Parker's house. Mitchell is kind of shy guy, who is kind of nervous while talking to Parker. And he also try his best to make Hachi to fetch the ball, but that time Parker came to know, that Hachi has special connection with him and he also know that Hachi was mad at him. After that, we see Hachi always wait for Parker in the station, and while Parker return home with Hachi, they both have lots of fun together. A couple of years later, Hachi and Parker spend most of the time together. They enjoyed their day in the snow, exploring the area around the house, and even Hachi was present at the Andy's wedding photograph. One day when Parker gets out of the station, Hachi was not there. He searched for everywhere and even he went to ask Kate, who is working nearby. But unfortunately Kate also don't know where Hachi was. When he returned home, he saw Hachi barking at a skunk. A few days later, Andy came to Parker's house with a good news. And the news was about her pregnancy. Both Kate and Parker were so happy for her. Meanwhile, Hachi feels happy by seeing Parker's happiness. Parker was a great husband and father, who's been married to Kate for 25 years. He knows that Kate has been working hard, so to make her to feels good, he plans a romantic evening for her. In the next day, Hachi was not ready to go with Parker for the station. So Parker decided to go by himself, but Hachi starts bark at him, so Parker gave him warm hug and leaves. Later Hachi holds a ball and follows Parker. Parker was very surprised to see him, so he throws the ball and asks him to fetch. Hachi also fetch it. But still Hachi doesn't want Parker to go for work, so Parker hugs him tight and leaves. That afternoon Parker telling his student, about a musician who didn't want Parker's music to be recorded. He also told his student, that sometime things are not good, when someone not giving opportunities for our hard work. While talking about this, Parker felt unwell. So he sit on a chair, in the next moment, he falls down and die. Meanwhile, Hatchie waits for Parker at the station until midnight. Later Mitchell finally comes and takes him back home. The next morning, Andy tells Hatchie that Parker was gone, and she also told Hatchie that she will take care of him just like Parker did. While the family attends the funeral, Hatchie sits outside the station in the extreme cold, because Parker isn't coming back home. Everyone around there asked Hatchie to return home. A few months later, Kate sold the house and she's moving away. Now we see Hatchie stay with Andy and Mitchell. One day, suddenly Hatchie run away for Andy's house, and started walking on the train tracks, and keeps on following the track until night. At night he stays under the shelter, and in the morning he goes back to the station, where Parker regularly goes for his work. Everyone in the station is happy to see Hatchie again. They also feeds him some foods, because Hatchie looks hungry. Later they call Andy and Mitchell who come there and took Hatchie with them. However, Andy knows that Hatchie isn't feeling well, and she tells him that if you want to go then she will definitely allow. While she opened the door, Hatchie licks her hand, before running back to the station. Then he sits in the station all day and sleeps under the shelter. At night vendors and shopkeepers feeds him, because they all love him. Hatchie become a celebrity among the traveler. One day, one of a reporter asked Carl, who is vendor, about Hatchie. Carl explains how Hatchie owner died a year ago, and how much Hatchie loyal to his owner. He also added that Hatchie used to send off his owner every day, and that is the reason why Hatchie was in the station, even after his owner death. Then the reporter took the picture of Hatchie, and prints heartful story about Hatchie. From that time, Hatchie started receiving gifts sent by the people all over the city. But Hatchie spends many years sitting in front of the station. 9 years later, Kate comes back to the town. She went through all the place where she spent with Parker. And she also went and meet Parker's grave. Meanwhile, Hatchie become too old, he was not bright like before, and he looks tried. But still he comes to the station every day. Meanwhile, Kate see him on her way back, and just can't believe her eyes. She was in full of tears, by seeing Hatchie who is waiting for long years for Parker. Then she spends an hour with Hatchie, and then when she met her grandson, Ronnie. There she share her grandson, about the beautiful memories their family shared with Hatchie. The Christmas came, Hatchie lying outside the station still, and dreaming about all the days that he shared with Parker. And just like that the loyal Hatchie passes away. And this was the story which Ronnie shared in the class. And in fact he adopted a dog for himself, and spends his whole time with the dog just like Parker. The film ends by telling that the real Hatchie spent 9 years from 1925 to 1934, waiting only for his dead master in Japan. And there is the statue of real Hatchie in the station. Well, this movie tells the beautiful story about the loyalty, that are forgotten in our modern days. Thank you for this beautiful film, and Hatchie, you made me cry. If you gets through the same, then do watch the full film. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. Kindly like the video, and subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell, so you don't miss any of my new videos. See you on the next video.